Welcome to Missionaries in the Church History Biographical Database. Today we have Ryan Combs, who is a church history library consultant, presenting with us, and I am going to now turn the time over to you. And again, just a reminder to stay muted and to put any questions you have for Ryan in the chat.
Great, thank you, Anne, and thanks for the rest of the Roots Tech staff for making this possible, and thank you guys for attending. I appreciate it. Today we're going to talk about missionary history, and we're going to show off the Church History Biographical Database, which used to be known as the Missionary Database until we merged Pioneers with it too. So let me share my screen and we can all take a look at the new website. Okay, so if everybody can see it there. Excuse me, like I said, it's a combination of Pioneer data and missionary data now. And so it's got a new name of Church History Biographical Database, and it contains both of those kinds of people. Now, the rationale for this, the reasoning maybe behind why we have it, is that we have a great resource from the Church History Library, and that is the catalog. Let me go to the catalog here. This catalog, when it loads here, well, it's a representation of the collection that we have in the church archives. And there's quite a lot in this collection, but like every other catalog in the world, it only is going to show you the titles of the items, right? So you can search in there for a name of an ancestor, but if that ancestor didn't specifically write a journal or write a book or write something else that has their name attached to it, then we would, their name wouldn't come up with much of a search of anything. So we had a lot of requests about pioneer ancestors in the past, and so we wanted to put together a database that would show those pioneer ancestors. And based on the success of that database, we decided to do the same for missionary work. We had a large collection of registers, mission registers, that listed everybody's names and the dates that they were set apart, and even who set them apart. Other times, some other information. And that's all just here in the catalog, but you have to know how to find it. So we created this biographical database where you can do those kinds of searches. So let's see, why don't I do a search for, sure, Heber C. Kimball. A lot of family history-based databases, the name search includes options for both first and last name. We just have a generic search. You can put whatever you want in there. Sometimes it's more useful to not include a middle name, but often a middle name is fine. And we can just scroll down the list here and we can see if we can find our Heber C. Kimball. And there's quite a lot. That's one of the fun things about being a famous church history person. You get a lot of people named after you. So here he is down at the bottom. And before I click on his page there, I just want to show you that we've been taken from the home page, the landing page, as we call it, to a search page. And from the search page, we have some options here too. So the two different sections of this are on the left here. Is a filtering section, and we can filter by gender, by birth date. If they served a mission, we can select the mission that they served from, like the British mission maybe, and then that will filter our results to only show us people who served in the British mission. But we can also search by pioneer company. So in the same way, we can select the pioneer company, or we can select the year that they traveled, and then get results filtered based on that. Another new feature to this is we used to have sounds like always on. And so if you search for somebody and maybe a Scandinavian name like Jensen, you're not sure if it's an S-O-N or S-E-N, right? Then you want to turn sounds like on, and then you'll get a lot more results. Another one here is search all fields. And right now we're only searching the names field. But when we turn on search all fields, we'll also get more results because we're searching other things, like if they had a mission companion named Heber Kimball, or if they had, if their parent was named Heber Kimball, that kind of thing. So we get J. Golden Kimball in here. And if we look at his page, we will see Father Heber Chase Kimball, right? So that expanded ability of that search gave us those extra names. So just keep that in mind, that search all fields. And I'll talk about that in a second as well, because it relates to some of the other section here. So this section of the filtering or facet section is the one. And then the other one here is this top above the search results section. So a couple of things here. We've got searching by relevance. If you wanted to only see Kimball's, then you could just do your search for Kimball. And then instead of searching by relevance, you would search by surname. And then that would just give you people where Kimball was their given name. So that's the function that, like I said, first name, last name, that kind of a thing, right? We can increase the number of items per page. That's just a kind of technical thing that you can do. And then here we've got these tabs where right now it defaults to the people page, but we can also search by organizations. So with the Kimball in there, we're searching for pioneer companies with the last name Kimball. And then if we want to, we can search for missions. There's not going to be any missions with the last name Kimball. But if we did a search for like Welsh, we would find people with the name Welsh. And then we go to organizations and we'll find that there's a mission called the Welsh Mission. So that's the organization. And then finally, the sources tab. We've got all of the sources from the database that we've got in here. And so you can search for these. Now, Emily showed this earlier in the session. And when I say Emily, earlier in the day at 1 o'clock, maybe some of you attended that one. There was a session on pioneer research in this database. So, okay.
Ryan, what was the name of that class?
Yeah, that's a good question. It was, I think it was. So it wasn't a session, and I guess I shouldn't call it a session. It was a booth demo, I think. And so the best way to find that is to go to the Church History Library Roots Tech Expo page, which I'll copy the link here and then paste that into the thing. So that session was, and I don't know, it was at 1 o'clock. I don't know if that's ready to be online visible yet. How fast did they put those up?
Usually about 24 hours.
Okay.
And
So
it looks like someone did comment saying that it was at 1 p.m.
Okay. Yeah, it was a demo at 1 p.m. So it's this if you go to our booth page, it's under live sessions, Church History Biographical Database, and it was Friday at 1 p.m. So if we click on that, I'm sure it'll say, oh, it is available. I don't know if that works, but anyway, you're welcome to watch that if you want more of a pioneer focused. Well, that takes you to Zoom. I think that's going to take you to an empty meeting room. So I think like Ann says, we'll have to wait about 24 hours for that to come back up. Okay, let's see. There's a few questions in here, and I think I will answer some questions right now before this question list gets too long. Okay. So how urgent is it for submitting materials that have been requested, taking time to make copies? Yeah, so I would just talk to somebody at Church History. So if you go to the catalog, there's an Ask Us link up in the upper right-hand corner on most every page. And if you've submitted materials, and then go ahead and click that and say, where are my materials and can I see them? Let's see. And are there plans for adding later missionaries? Yes. It's actually funny. Yesterday, I added all of the missionaries from 1941. So these are missionaries who started service in 1941, and some of them served right up, into like 1943 or so. And so, they also need to be deceased. So there's a handful of missionaries that served in 39 and 40 and 41 who are still around. And we won't put somebody in the database if they're still living, just to protect their privacy. But once they pass away, we'll add them. And that's been the plan going forward, is to just add people on an 80-year window. So very shortly, I will add the 1942 missionaries. And there's probably not going to be very many of them because the country was at war. But anyway, yeah. And let's see. Okay, and I'll look up. Yeah, I'll show you some specific documents for sure. Okay. And then Gene, I don't know if that answered your question, how far back, or how far back, right? So we have the earliest missionary in the database is Samuel Smith, the prophet's younger brother, who was called in April of 1830 at the first general conference of the church. He left on a mission in June of that year. So he's in the database. So we've got all the very beginnings. Now, I say that we've got the very beginnings, and I know that we're missing people. The early days of the church, the records weren't as good. So sometimes we don't know exactly where somebody went on a mission, or sometimes we don't even know that they went on a mission. But yeah. And then we've got a question about adding to the bio pages. Yeah, so what I would say for adding something, so let's go back to a person page. And okay, I guess we'll just, let's look up J. Golden Kimball, because that was a fun one. And again, I searched for Jonathan. If you know the first name, then that's great. If you just searched for Golden Kimball, then that's great too. That should work. But we've got a descendant of J. Golden Kimball in the chat, so that's great. So we click on his name, and we'll see a couple of different things. We've got in the top part, this person card will often have a picture if there's one available. If your ancestor is missing a picture and you know of a picture, then let us know. I'll show you how to do that in a second here. We've got alternate names. We've got birth and death dates. Then we've got a link here to take you to his page in Family Search. And so let me do that really quick. So it opens in a new window. And then, yeah, and then is this linked on Family Search? That's great. This is the place where you would do that. I would check first to see if somebody's already done it, because yeah, you don't want too many sources in Family Search where it's just the same link over and over again. But yeah, you can just click on this link. Let me show you how that's done. So you click on a link, it opens up in it there, and yep, and it's ready to attach. And like I said, I'm not going to do this because I think it's already in there. But it has his name. It's got the web page where we found it. It fills in a lot of this stuff automatically, and then you can just finish that up and save it. So let's go back. So, and like I said, it opens up Family Search. Now, we recently changed this to go to this discovery page, which means that you don't have to be logged in. We thought that was a better experience for some people if they're not, members of Family Search signed in. And even if they are, sometimes it's just, you just want to check something quick. So it goes to the discovery page. But if you want to go to the page you're used to, the detail page, then as long as you're signed in, you can just click on the upper right here, go to detail person page, and it'll take you back to the original flavor Family Search page. I guess I could wait for that to load. But there you go. And yeah, as I suspected, because he's a famous person, he's read only, so we may not have been able to add that source anyway. Okay, so that's in this little card right here, and then below the card are a timeline of his life. Now, he did not cross the plains because he was born in Salt Lake City, but if he had, then a pioneer experience would likely be in this timeline as well. But you notice too, and I should point this out because a lot of times it gets missed, but each one of these events typically has a little down arrow, and if you click that, it will open it up and you can see more information. So this mission in the Southern States Mission, this first one, click that down arrow and then you'll see extra information about here, right? So, and a couple of things that we've got, we try to figure out their marital status at the time that they served, if it was proselytizing mission. Their priesthood office is often in there. Usually it's elder, but sometimes it's 70 and other types of callings as well. Residence when called. Now, when he was called, it was Utah Territory, so it reflects that there. So we usually try to get the name of the place when the event took place. So it's the same when he was born. He was born in Utah Territory. So, and then set apart by M. Thatcher. Now, this is one that I would love to spend more time to fix, but ideally, this would link to M. Thatcher's page, and then we could go to his page, like this one does. He served with this Charles Arthur Welsh, and so if we click on that, it'll take us to Charles's page too. And that's particularly handy if you have, you don't have a lot of journals from your ancestor, but you do know that they had a companion. Then look in your the companion's journals, and maybe you'll find out bits about your ancestor too. So, going back here, so that's on the mission, and then we have pictures from this specific mission that are here, and then they also appear down at the bottom too. So, and then got some timeline events here of when he departed from home and when he arrived at home. And then we have his call as the mission president of the Southern States Mission. And you can see some pretty similar information. This came from the same register. And so by this point, he is married, and he's been moved up to the office of 70. And he was living in Logan at the time instead of Salt Lake, and then set apart by George Buchanan. So, and then finally, the death in 1938. Okay, Tom, I can't search. Oh yeah, search by mission name. Yeah, I thought you were going to say, can you search by my mission? No, you shouldn't be in here if you're typing. But yeah, so there's a couple of ways to get to mission name. You can, if you're in somebody's page like this, to the Southern States Mission, we'll just take you to the Southern States Mission page. And so there you go. And let me show you from the main landing page. There we go. You can also click this See All Missions button, and it'll take you to a list of all the missions. And then the other thing you can do, like I showed you with Welsh, is that if you want to just search for a mission like Iceland, we do have somebody with an Icelandic spelling, so that does come up with a person. But and then here we go with a mission, the Iceland mission. And on these mission pages are a lot of times some great stuff that can further your research. So we just looked at J. Golden Kimball's page, and it was pretty good, but it doesn't really tell you a lot of stuff. You just know that he was in the Southern States. You don't really, it doesn't really tell you like any of his specific areas. It did have one companion, but you know he had more than one companion, right? So there's a lot of questions that we still have, even though we're getting closer. So a next place to start would be to go to the mission page. So, and actually I'm going to go to Southern States, and then we can continue looking more into J. Golden. Let's see, are you collecting missionary journals of those in the database, the original journals, or just scans of the journals? Yes, 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 and yes. So what we would do ideally is, in an ideal world, you would scan the journal, put it on Family Search. That's the fastest way to get it online, right? And then once it's on Family Search, you send us a message. Oh, I didn't show that, so let me show that really quick. Let's go back to a person page. So if you would put this is J. Golden, so probably you don't have his journals, but if you had his journals, you scroll down all the way to the bottom, there's the Submit Additional Information button. Just go ahead and click that and fill it out and say, I've put his journal on Family Search, and you can even provide a link, or if you just tell us it's on Family Search, and then once we're aware, we'll add that to the sources. Sometimes this form tells us what page you were on when you submitted, and sometimes it does not. So I would say when you type in your detail, make sure to give the name of the person. Don't just say grandpa, because we may not know who your grandpa is. So let's see, and then, okay, yeah. And then once you've uploaded it onto Family Search, and as far as like, yeah, it should be a PDF and that, and resolution and size, usually 600 DPI is pretty good. But it kind of just depends on what kind of equipment you've got too. So, but anyway, once you've got it up on Family Search and you've let us know so we can link to it, then the next step I would say ideally would be to give the journal to the Church History Library. And you can go to the Church History's website, and there's a, not this one, but the Church History website. Actually, I think we can get to it from here, right? Maybe. Yeah, I'm sure it's down here, churchhistorylibrary.org. So if we go there and then, oh, okay. I don't know why that's unsafe. It's perfectly safe. Down one of these cards down here, and I'm sorry if I'm going too fast here, but so it's Church History Library. You can get to it from the booth down at the bottom, churchhistorylibrary.org, or you can just type in churchhistorylibrary.org. And then scroll down once you're there and click on gifts and donations. And that will be how you can get, copy. Now, I don't know if Acquisitions likes me to tell you this or not, but they occasionally will just borrow it from you and digitize it, and then they'll give it back to you. And so that might be an option too, where if you're like, well, this is my father's journal, I don't want to just give this up. I still want to have physically, have it around. But you could do something like that. But another thing to consider too is that if you've got great grandpa's journal, that means that most of your other cousins don't really get a chance to see it unless they come to you. And so having it here in our library is a good opportunity for it to kind of be more available in some ways, and also better preserved. We're far less likely to have a floody basement or catch fire or something like that. So something to consider. And let's see. And then, yeah, if it's in another language, yeah, we would definitely be. We sometimes have the missionaries and other people here who can translate, and sometimes we might seek out from the public to find somebody who can translate that too. So, okay, yeah, if it's too large, I would try to scale it down, and or maybe split it up into different files.
Ryan, this is a question from Candy.
Sure.
So in terms of mission stuff, I'm just curious I guess you could send in a thing and see if they even are interested in it.
Yeah, and generally they are. They're anything that kind of shows what somebody's life was like as a member of the church, whether they were a missionary or just a Relief Society president or even just a member of a certain ward. A lot of times things like that sparks interest. So.
I'm just thinking, my husband recently passed away, and I'm going through all of his stuff, and he served in Australia when Daniel H. Ludlow was the mission president.
Right. Yeah.
And tons of stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, like all the mission, I guess they did like mission letters where Daniel Ludlow would answer questions and stuff. I don't know whether,
Yeah, definitely interested in that. And even if they don't fit into the scope of the database, some of those missionaries are probably not in this database yet.
Well, no, there probably wouldn't be. That would
Right.
be in the 50s here.
Yeah.
Hey, Ryan.
Yeah.
Sorry. And Candy, thank you for your question and comments. Just because the number of the participants we have a large number. We're just asking everyone to stay muted and to put your questions and comments in the chat.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I want to get into this really quick because I think this is a more fun, more meaty part too. So I'll just show you what I was going to show you. Go to the Southern States Mission, for instance, because we want to find out more about J. Golden Kimball. And if you look, we'll first get a similar to a person page, right, where we get a timeline of the events of the Southern States Mission. Once it comes up, here we go. So the first president is Henry Boyle, and then different presidents, boundary changes. There's Elias Kimball. I believe he was J. Golden's half brother. I can't remember. Anyway, and then people all the way down, different things like the headquarters moved from Chattanooga to Georgia, which is where it still is. Anyway, and then we go down past all of that. We get some more pictures. Some of these are kind of fun ones. And then underneath is the sources. There's mission sources. Every mission has a manuscript mission history, and most of them are digital and available online. So the Southern States mission is this mission history here. It's the third one from the bottom. And I'm going to open that in the new window. And that's going to take us to the catalog, to the digital copy of the mission history that we have in the catalog. And this is a perfect example of something that that is a valuable resource, but you can't search the catalog and find your ancestor's name in here. But you can go to the index, and I'm going to click that. That's volume 1. And while I'm clicking that, I'm going to go back and reopen this again in another tab. And I'll show you in a second why. Okay. When they're PDFs, they take a little bit longer to load. But the advantage of the PDF is that you can control F search the text on the page. So even though this, well, wait till it gets here. So if it wasn't a PDF, it would be individual images. I can show you that on one of these other ones. So like this is an example of one that's not a PDF. And so when we click on that, it does load faster because it only loads one page. But this is not text searchable. But get back to this, and hopefully it will be. So this, I'm hoping, will answer some other questions that people had in the chat about curious who the missionaries were that converted my great-grandparents, right? So one way that you can search that is if they lived in a very small mission, like the Iceland mission, for instance, then it would be pretty easy to narrow it down based on the missionaries that were there. If, for instance, they served in the Southern States mission, I can show you what that looks like when you try to narrow it down. One way to do it is to click on the mission president who was around at the time. So let's say they were baptized in 1903 in the Southern States mission. If we click See Missionaries, we'll get the list of the missionaries that were there at the time. But there's 241 missionaries at the time in just that short year, because it's a huge, huge mission. So that's not really feasible to kind of look through all of these and hope to find the right ones. But in the index, what we can do, and so Control F again, you hit Control on your keyboard and then F, and I don't know if you can see, but a little dialog box popped up where I can search. So in here, I'm just going to search for Kimball. And it's going to work, hopefully. Yeah, it's working. It's just taking a while. So just give it a second there. But what we're looking at while it's loading, okay, here we go. So I got to Kimball Fisher, and if I click the down arrow again, it should send me down to the K's, hopefully, where there's more Kimballs. But what we're looking at here is a list of all of the names of people that are mentioned in the mission history, and then also places too. I don't see any on the page where we are right now. But if instead of searching for a last name, oh yeah, thank you. If you're on a Mac, it is Command F. Thank you, Sherry. So let's see. Look at the next one, maybe. Anyway, so each one of these people are mentioned in the data, in the mission history, and they're mentioned on specific dates. So, so here is Heron, Virginia, right? And if instead of searching for Kimball, I searched for Heron, Virginia, because that's where my great-great-grandfather was born, and that's where he was converted, then I would find this way that, yeah, it looks like Elias S. Kimball was at a conference in Heron, Virginia, and some other details are in here as well. Now, sometimes these details in here are pretty good. They show you a lot of information. Like here, Joseph Hansen was transferred to the Eastern States Mission with the West Virginia Conference. Other times it's, there's not a lot of information. So either way, you can take the date, like 1904, April 23rd, and then we can go back to the, whoops, accidentally hit close on that. We can go back to the main history, and then we can look up that corresponding date in the mission history. So we're in the 1830s to 1882. I'm going to use the breadcrumbs at the top here to go back to the main page. and then what was it, 1903. That's going to be in volume 12, part 1. And then I can just click in here and try to find that date. What I usually do is take that number and roughly divide it in half. Just go in on page 200. And then we can see that we're on, in 1903, we're in December 10th. And so you just move a couple of pages around and see if you can find the date that they're mentioned. And so here talks about Elder Lorenzo Crosby wrote from, and then we're in Heron, Virginia. I don't know if that's a coincidence or what, reporting on the death of Vivian Tomlinson, 13-year-old son of W. So there's lots of cool information in here. And usually, like this says, this was printed in the Deseret Evening News. That's where they got this information, but it's specific to this mission. So that's that. Kathy, if your great-great-grandfather left the church, he would still have mission records documenting his mission if he was, yeah. So yeah, we should have that. We've got missionaries in here that that never ended up coming west with the rest of the saints. And we have, yeah, missionaries in here that were unfortunately excommunicated at some point, although I'm not going to tell you which ones, but anyway, so that's great. Let's see. Just looking to see if there's any other questions. Yeah. Yeah, any other questions, I guess? I think we're a little bit over time, right, Ann? Okay, I have a real interest in LDS adoptions. Yeah, Teresa, I would submit an Ask Us question. Again, that's on the catalog, just in the upper right hand, and ask about those specifically. So
Ryan, we have about 2 minutes.
Okay.
If there is a last question that you want to respond to.
Sure. Yeah, Jean, if your grandfather's not listed, you can submit additional information on most any page except a search page, I guess. So I would just go into anybody's page, and then down at the bottom there is a link that says submit additional information. And again, you don't have, obviously, if your grandfather's not in there, you can't go to his page, but you can click that submit additional information and say, can you look into my grandfather or whatever. So yeah. And yeah, I'll just encourage anybody to check out the other videos that are on our expo page. So we've got some nice videos to show you more about the catalog, and this video will be available there as well. This one on the story of the saints book, which yeah, is good too. So, and yeah, feel free to send any questions in chat. You can go to our booth and you can click chat and you can ask questions, and either I'll be there to answer or somebody else that also knows a lot about it will be able to answer that as well. So anyway, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Ryan, for a great session. I'm going to end the meeting.